I mean, it's what you signed up for, but you don't prepare yourself for what it actually is.
Welcome back to Yahoo Australia's Behind the Edit, your go-to podcast for unpacking the actual reality behind reality TV. I'm Lachlan Guertin.
And I'm Tahlia Pritchard. And today we were joined by Bronte Schofield from last year's season of Married at First Sight.
There have been a lot of comparisons to Jack and Tori from this year's season, to Bronte and Harrison from last year's season.
Yes.
So she has a lot to say about whether she sees the similarities.
Yeah, and a lot to say about Harrison and her relationship and how it unfolded on our screens versus how it unfolded for her in real life, I guess.
But before we get into Bronte, I want to hear your thoughts on this week. We've got Confessions Week. We had the first dinner party. What were your highs and lows?
A lot happened this week. Confessions Week is always an interesting one to watch. Like, I always nearly forget it because I get really excited for Intimacy Week. But this Confessions Week, we saw Jaden's confession. That was a lot, which we're going to unpack a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I want to do, thumbs up to Timothy this week, for being the first person from memory who has just been like, I'm not doing this photo ranking challenge.
Totally. I'm surprised the producers didn't force him to do it,
Yeah.
but it was really nice for him to just say, this is inappropriate for me to rank my partner against all the other cast members, especially his age.
Especially the younger women. And when he said that, I was like, thank you. And then also it cut into Richard, who's like...
Yeah, Richard was done
did
dirty.
not have a thought in his brain as he's doing the ranking. But I was just so glad that he stuck to his guns and was like, absolutely not.
And what is your thumbs down for the week then?
So many. Okay, people probably think I'm ready to rant about Jack and Tori or whatever, but I just don't have the energy. Like, Jack is so boring to me that I'm not even going to go there. My thumbs down is to Ben.
Okay, Ben.
Because I'm getting bad vibes, but I don't think we're seeing the full story yet. So when he and Ellie were talking about their values, and then she was talking about how important it is to have children, I feel like he was really dismissing her, and he was really making it this woman issue, like her clock is ticking.
Yeah.
He called her out for being sensitive as though it was a really bad thing, rather than that's actually a really nice trait for someone to have. So I felt like his whole shtick was a bit like, oh, sensitive woman will have baby with any man that looks at her. And I was just like, this is not what she's saying. You are not listening. And then he had one final line, I think, where he was like, what do you say? He said, kids are very important to females. I understand that. And I was just like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're not listening. It
was a hard watch for sure.
It made me really mad. Maybe just triggered, because I feel like so many men in their mid to late 30s are like, it's fine for me because I've got time. And it's like, well, stop wasting this woman's time.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Going from Ben's behavior, I feel like my thumbs up of the week will go to Tristan and Cassandra.
Yes.
I still don't see a future with them working out and making it to final vows, but it was really nice to see him open up about why he's hesitant to be more intimate with her. She was encouraging that. She was understanding of his reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they've got a solid friendship for now.
Yeah.
We'll see where the romance comes into it, but so far so good with those two.
Great communication. What did you think about the kiss though? Because I felt like obviously he was so nervous about it, but I also think he felt like he had to do it just for producers. You know, when he broke the fourth wall and he was like, there, see, I did it.
Yeah, I feel like it's always awkward when someone comments on the kiss afterwards, like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought, or something like that. Where exactly, why do you have to share those thoughts of, oh, I should have kissed you just then? Actions speak louder than words, and you don't have to share every thought in your brain.
But he does, and we love him for it.
I'm going to give my thumbs down of the week to the photo ranking challenge. Mm-hmm. I actually spoke to Caitlin from last year's season. She had a terrible photo ranking situation with her partner Shannon. She gave her thoughts on the whole thing. We're going to play that at the end of the episode, but I think we need to scrap the photo ranking challenge altogether.
Yeah, I'm really keen to hear what she has to say, given her time with Shannon was just tragic, really. But also because what is the point of this challenge? It's not helping any couples. It's obviously, we know it's creating drama and friction and all that kind of stuff. But, I think the whole point of Confessions Week is to ultimately challenge them in different ways. But the photo ranking just feels old now. And I feel like contestants are finding their way to kind of swerve around it too. I liked Timothy's part of it. But Collins, for example, doing the photo ranking was...
Yeah.
Something else entirely. But I want to hear Caitlin's thoughts, and then we can delve into that more too.
Well, there is a lot to unpack from this week, so let's get into our chat with Bronte Schofield.
Bronte, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so exciting to have you in studio with us to talk about MAFS.
So excited to be here. I never actually thought that I would agree to talk about MAFS as much as I have, but here we are.
Yeah, do you feel like you're reliving trauma at the moment watching the season that's on now?
It's bizarre because you do put yourself back in their position. So I actually didn't really want to watch too much of it, but I think because now I don't have to anticipate watching myself and thinking, oh God, like what's it going to be tonight? Like the PTSD during the day, I'm like, oh geez, like I wonder what's happening tonight. Then you watch all the confessions and you're just like, you put yourself back in that position 100%. But it's not been as bad as what I thought it was going to be. Not going to lie.
There have been comparisons to a new couple on this season, Jack and Tori. They're getting a lot of Harrison and Bronte comparisons.
It's
How
like
are you feeling
copy
about that?
and paste. It's literally copy and paste. So I actually see a resemblance between Jack and Harrison looks-wise. So I think when all the articles dropped of all the new cast members, obviously everybody jumps on board and you're looking through. Soon as Jack come up, my heart, like, it sunk. And I was like, oh, this poor woman who gets put with this man. I'm like, I bet it's an empath like me, somebody who's really sensitive. And then I watched it and Tori's just like this badass. And I'm like, okay, maybe she can handle this man. It'll be okay, because I was torn to shreds. Like I feel a lot. I'm very sensitive. And I think that's why I had the edit that I had, was just because obviously, you know, I'm not that I'm easily manipulated, but I like to see the best in everybody. And I think Tori, I think she's got that attribute too, but she's more like, where I'm like,
do you see any similarities between yourself and Tori, or do you find yourself putting yourself in her shoes?
I am putting myself in her shoes, and I can see that she wants to stick by him, and that's an attribute of myself that a lot of people are making fun of it, but I kind of pride myself on that. You know, it's just because you're not seeing all of the relationship, it doesn't mean that it's all bad. And I think that's something that I can relate to, because there's so much more to it than what people see.
Absolutely. Well, I guess even with you and Harrison, there was so much confusion that you guys lasted as long as you did, given that there was, like, we just saw kind of explosive fights and arguments and you moving out and different things going on.
Hot the moving out. I should have just stayed out.
There are rumours that Tori and Jack are still together now. Mm-hmm. When did you know it was fully over with Harrison?
The text message when he broke up with me, I was ready to go. Like, I mean, obviously I had my doubts from the wedding day. And when I first saw him, I was genuinely attracted to him. I genuinely was like, wow, they've done really well. He looks amazing. And then he opened his mouth and it kind of just all went downhill from there. And then I kind of could feel my sister's vibe too. I was like, something's not right. Like, I just knew that my family was very reserved with him. So I think when I was having the conversations with my mum and my sister, they were like, there's something up, but he seems, you know, nice. I'm not going to judge a book by its cover. And I think as time went on, I could see what they saw. And as I said, you know, I'm the type where I give people the benefit of the doubt. And if I see one little glimpse of hope in you, like, I will hold on to that. Safe to say I don't do that anymore. But I knew as time was going on, something never really felt 100%. And it's not a normal relationship. You're not on the outside where you can just talk to your family all the time. You've got producers who are telling you, no, everything's great. You guys are amazing. People are going to love you. And that's just not what happened. So as soon as that text message scene happened, I wish I had stuck to my guns and just left. I had flights booked and everything. Like, I was gone. I didn't want to see that man ever again.
Yeah, right.
And they were wearing you down. Like, it's insane.
I mean, speaking about the producers' impact on the experiment and the storylines that unfold, one of the big storylines from this week's episodes was obviously the article about Jack's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Commenting about him going on the show when he had told her that he was going to the US for work.
Yeah.
I will point out that the article that they were referring to was most likely Yahoo's article.
Stop, really?
We were the ones to first write about her response.
That.
So
we were watching it like they're like in a gossip site, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh, was that ours?
Can we get some credit, please?
Literally, they could have named us. But anyway, I would like to know, though, the article spread throughout the cast on the show. how much input would the producers have had in spreading that article to get the contestants to talk about the same thing?
I think, obviously you still get your phone when you're not filming. So obviously when you see yourself in an article for the first time, you kind of become obsessed with looking at what's next. So like I was obviously put in an article before I even got married. So ours were just like, our cast leak was wild. We found that all ourselves. So I was getting sent it by my mum, my dad, like everyone. And I was like, what is going on? So I genuinely think that they would have just found it themselves. They would have gone to production and said, hey, like, look what's happening.
Yep.
And then I reckon they would have spread it way quicker than what the cast would have, because you're not technically allowed to speak to anybody outside of filming. Like, you're not even really allowed to message them, but they would have screenshot it and sent it to everybody, and that's why they would have had to have implemented it as a storyline. Otherwise it wouldn't have made sense. Going, where did you find this, how did it happen? So the producers would have been like, we have to make this make sense to the viewers. So that's why they've gone, oh, did you hear about this, did you hear about this? Everyone would have already known. Like, it's
that's
obvious.
so interesting. It probably leads us well into our first clip then, if we want to show Tori's response to the whole article scandal as well.
Ray, are you happy? I'm absolutely happy. Absolutely happy. I don't trust easily.
Sounds like me.
But I think at some point there is an element of trusting.
And I wanted her to feel comfortable.
Yeah. It's fine, honestly.
Oh God, this man is just, I don't like him at all, and I don't care what anyone says about, oh no, give him a chance. No, I've done that before. No, absolutely not. She is shitting herself in that moment. When you are at that table and you have all those eyes on you, there's no music playing, there's nothing in the background, it's dead silent. So you have just all these cameras around, you're being put, it's like a deer in headlights. Sitting there and you're like, how do I answer this without looking like a total fool? Like, I can honestly relate to her so much, and I don't believe a word that he says. I've been there, and in that moment, your gut is screaming at you to just pick up and leave, because I believe that your self-respect needs to be so much higher than your feelings. And I had a crystal ball, but if I had have watched this season before going on mine and I had have got someone like that, I would have been like, I know exactly what's happening here. She obviously sees something in him, and I do believe her that she does trust him to an extent, but her gut as a woman and her intuition as a woman, she would know. Like, she would absolutely know.
I do think it's interesting what they showed of her response to the whole scandal at the dinner party. It did feel like we were missing something.
You could see that was patched. That was probably a reaction to something else that was said earlier or later on in the night. It's for her to just turn around and say, I fully trust him, after you've just said that you have trust issues. Again, speaking from experience, she doesn't trust him. She just doesn't want to look like an idiot.
It's interesting to hear your perspective, because I spoke to her this week. She confirmed that pretty much they cut out a lot of what she said at the dinner party and made her look like a damsel in distress. She believes she was made to look silenced and submissive. Here's what she had to say. I'm not a victim. I'm not this helpless poor sod that needs the nation to stand behind me. I'm great. I'm fine. We're just getting done real dirty with how they're showing it on TV, and it's really disappointing. So clearly she's not happy with how it's being portrayed.
Of course.
But more in the sense of she's speaking up against him, I guess, and they're showing this narrative where she is submissive, which I think is really interesting.
They did the same thing to me.
Yeah. Did she say
thing.
we're not happy with how we're being portrayed?
Good point. She did say we're just getting done real dirty with how they're showing it on TV. So obviously they've been sharing their thoughts together, and they're both
That's very
unhappy.
team unit, isn't it? Like,
and that's the thing. That's why I see so much of Harrison and I know that there's so much more to this relationship than what meets the eye, because they cut out all of mine and Harrison's dates, all of our affection. People were like, Bronte and Harrison don't even kiss each other. I was like, yes, we do. We walk in hand. Like, everyone was like, we don't see you on weekends. I was like, because I'm spending it with him.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much more to it than what meets the eye. But as Tori said, like, I was portrayed as this damsel in distress. Silence is the main thing that I always use. I was like, I was silenced. I looked mute. And so does she. At that wedding, she was like, I'm confident. I'm strong. I won't take any shit. Next minute, she's sitting at the table dead silent. I'm like, I've seen this before. I don't know exactly how it ends. So
it's interesting that they want to make you guys look more submissive then to these really dominant alpha males. But like even watching the show as a fan and as a viewer, I would like to see those moments where you're actually building intimacy and like understanding the connection more, because I think that's more relatable. Like we've all been there. We've dated maybe people that aren't right for us or whatever it is, but it's deeper than just like being on a show. You have the good moments, you have the moments you want to defend them.
Yep.
It would make so much more sense to the storyline to be able to see those moments between you and Harrison, for example, to be like, oh, this is why she has decided to stay for a little bit longer.
100%. And obviously, as I said, it's not an everyday relationship. So you don't just have the input of your partner. You've got 5, 6, 7 producers wearing you down. So it's like Natalie, for instance. It's like when all that happened, I'm just staring at it going, I know exactly what is happening here. And it breaks my heart, because when you're in that moment and you do want to go home or there's things that are happening, there's nothing that you can do. So
we're going to take a quick break now, but we do need to get your thoughts on the whole Collins and Natalie scandal. There is a lot.
Oh my God, I can't wait to unpack this.
So obviously the dinner party episodes are the most anticipated episodes of the week. If we go back to your season, do you remember how you felt entering your first dinner party?
Oh, my first dinner party. Harrison and I were obviously not in a great place. And I just remember being so... I was nervous. Like, obviously, you're like, you don't know what the other couples are going to look like. Like, obviously, you're excited to see the girls again. And it was your stomach when you're waiting behind that door. It doesn't matter whether it's the first dinner party or the last. Like, you are just so nervous. And that door opened. Obviously, I saw Lyndall and I was so excited. Obviously, we're still really good friends to this day. And I just remember every other couple walking in and they were just all so loved up. And I was just sitting there. I was kind of like Natalie, like, everybody seems to be getting along, and then I'm with this one. So it was, and then I was really scared to obviously tell the girls what had happened, because it's not that I was embarrassed about my wedding, but it was like, why did that have to happen? Like, why did that happen to me? I was like, of course this is going to happen. Now I was so hopeful at that hens night, and everybody knew what I had gone through with my past when it comes to men, and then now they're going to be like, oh God, it's happened to her again. But I just remember I felt really flat, but really happy all at the same time. So it was like a confliction of emotions. But that first dinner party, nothing compares. Like, it is just the whirlwind of emotions. It is insane. Like, the adrenaline is so real.
Yeah. Obviously, as viewers, we love the dinner party episodes because they're the most dramatic. Did you get to a point where you were just dreading even going to them?
Yeah, because I didn't go to one. I think I can't remember which one it was, but I was done. Like, I wasn't just done with Harrison. I was done with the whole experiment. I just remember I cried for those last 3 weeks every day. Like, every single day. And I was just so exhausted, and you could just see it. Even when I was watching it back, like, my mum had to stop watching because she's like, Bronte, your whole soul just disappeared on TV. I went from this optimistic, hopeful person at the wedding, and just, you watched me week by week just completely deteriorate. And that, by that stage when I didn't go, I was like, they were trying to get me to go. They were wearing me down for hours in my room, and I was like, I'm not going. I was like, I'll go to the commitment ceremony tomorrow, I'll write leave, and that'll be that, but I'm not going tonight. And I'm glad that I stuck to my guns with that, because if I had have gone, that was the night, I think, when Harrison was in red and Claire was like, oh, we'll just take your shirt off and wave it around like the red flag you are. And I watched that and I was like, thank you so much. But yeah, it does, it's exhausting on your mental health. It really is. People don't understand those 16-hour days, having lights and cameras in your face constantly. They've got master keys where they can just walk in at any time. Like, it's not, I mean, it's what you signed up for, but you don't prepare yourself for what it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, nothing can prepare you for that.
Because we've all heard that the dinner parties go on for hours.
Oh, they go on for so long.
What is the gap between if you're the first couple entering the dinner party and the last couple? How long are they waiting for?
It's about, I reckon, so the earliest I ever got there was 3:30, and the latest that I ever went in was 6:30.
Wow.
So it's about 3 hours.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And you can only imagine just waiting in those tents. And most of the time, obviously, you're with your partner. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Let's go into the tents. So are there just tents for each couple outside of the big warehouse, or how did that work?
Yeah, I genuinely thought that was a joke. So when because I've never obviously been in anything like this in my life.
Yeah.
And obviously it was Harrison that told me, and I remember he was like, oh, we're going to have to wait in tents before like the dinner parties and the commitment ceremonies. I was like, a tent? I was like, what do you mean? I thought we'd all just hang out together and it'd be great. They're like, as soon as we walked into that warehouse and then the doors opened, there was all these tents lined up. And I was like, what? It's like, so then like, okay, this is your tent. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. Like, you've got some snacks in there. Like, they take your phone off you, nothing. Like, you're not allowed to do anything. And it was torture.
I always thought like they delay some couples, right, to add to the drama and whatever it may be. But I didn't picture you guys in tents. You see that sometimes it looks like the limo or the car's just doing laps around the block.
Yeah, or they've rocked up. I always assume that they rock up and then they just go straight to the door and then wait to be let in.
Yeah.
No, it's even like that with the commitments, with the dinner parties. Before the guy that's like, dinner is served, you don't go straight into the dinner party. You go back into the tents and you do all the voxies for like an hour and a half. And then you go into the dinner party at probably like 11 o'clock. And then
My goodness.
Yeah, and then you don't finish the dinner party sometimes till 3 a.m. So then sometimes you have to do voxies after that, and then you don't get home till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they're at your door 9, 10 o'clock, like, hello.
This makes so much more sense because like I know what I'm like when I'm tired. I'm easily emotional, ready to snap, just looking dead behind the eyes.
100%. Like it was, and I'm someone that needs my sleep, and I was dying. I like half the time I would sleep on the couch, like, and our couch it was actually this couch, which is really bizarre. That's weird. I'm like, but this was so uncomfortable. It was awful to sleep on, but I didn't care. I was like, I just want to
You're
be
just so tired by that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was torture.
Now that we've got that insight into what's going through the couple's mind before entering the dinner party, we have to talk about Collins and Natalie. The vibe was very low once they entered the dinner party, and then obviously they announced during the meal that they would be leaving the experiment. We've got a clip to show you.
Sorry.
Sorry. Can we give you a hug?
Yeah, of course.
I want to give her a hug.
I've taken up, I feel like...
And I just want to say, before you guys come up, it's tough. It's really, really tough. But look, we're all here for love, right? Yeah. Whoa. Oh my God.
Collins, mate, shut up. Like, I don't get that. Was he acting? Like, it was like he was going for an Academy Award.
That's goodbye for me too. Whoa.
Alright, let's say goodbye.
Whoa. It's just like, oh my God. Seriously, I agree with Lauren. Shut up. It's like he says so much, but he doesn't say anything at all.
It's so true, yeah.
So I'm like, there's words coming out, but what are you saying?
It was a kind of like, even they're like, oh wow, and like I was like, there's no tears.
Nothing.
What's happening?
Nothing. It's. I mean, now knowing that he's wanted to go on MAFS for a while, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the poor guy doesn't know whether he's coming or going. And obviously when you're in that, and I get it, you've given up so much of your life to be on this show. And obviously, you know, for me, I didn't want to go on MAFS forever. Like, I actually said no when they first asked me. So I don't know what that feels like to kind of have your dream, I guess, taken away from you. But I feel like he needed to really, as I could see Natalie's emotions, I can understand coming from a woman's perspective, she just wanted him to take her aside and just even to say, are you okay? Just something so simple, but I don't think he has the mental capacity for that. Yeah. I really don't.
Well, he's never had a girlfriend, right? So
yeah,
women are probably just a foreign language to him completely.
Absolutely. And I guess when you haven't been, I guess, in that dynamic with a person, it could be hard to adapt, but you're going on Married at First Sight, so at least give it a go. At least try. You know, I don't really think that it takes much to have compassion. Some people it does, but we'd know. But it's like, I don't get that vibe from him. I do feel like he could give, but maybe he's just scared. I don't know. He's an interesting character. He is.
Do you think there was any chance at success in the experiment for Collins and Natalie?
Absolutely not. No way. She was genuinely there to find love. You can see by her raw emotions. Her emotions were very much like mine. You can't control that feeling. And when you do want something to work so bad and the other person isn't reciprocating or giving you what you want and deserve, it's really hard to accept that. And I think, Natalie has a big heart. You can see it. And she genuinely wanted this to work. She genuinely wanted to give it a go. And I think she just felt like he didn't want anything to do with her. And that is probably one of the worst feelings ever.
Yeah.
So
what's your read on Collins in general? Do you think he's there to find love?
No. I don't think he's there to find love at all. And that's okay. But don't string her along. And if you're going to at least try and act, just do better, man. Because what was that? Everybody goes on MAFS for their own reasons and it's their own journey, and that's okay. But I even noticed that when he was leaving, he goes, my MAFS journey is over.
Yeah, good pickup.
Not my wedding, or not my marriage, or not my
relationship.
relationship.
My shot at love.
It was my MAFS journey, and that's when I was like, you've just shot yourself in the foot. It's so obvious why you're there.
I mean, we know that he's wanted to go on the show for ages, like you said.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a great pickup that you had. From my perspective, I kind of understood okay, this would suck. You've gone through the entire application process.
Yeah.
You maybe left your job. You've left your state. You've come on the show. You think you're going to make so many amazing friends and have this amazing experience.
Yeah.
And of course, when that ends early, that was the first time where he had met all of the cast together.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, that sucks.
It would suck.
But do you think it's fair for someone to stay on MAFS for the experience rather than love?
Not if your partner is wanting to be there to find somebody as well.
Yeah.
She is so genuine. She is just, you can just see she was genuinely heartbroken because she wanted to give this everything. The poor girl had just lost her father a few weeks before that too. So her emotions would have been through the roof, and respectfully, it's not cool. And producers, again, they would have known this too. And that's why when you see her come back, I just had alarm bells just ding, ding, ding in my head. I could see even the words that she was saying and the way that she was constructing her sentences. It was producers. Because the same thing happened to me. She goes, I'm wanting to work on myself and I'm not ready to be the best version, to not be the best version of myself yet. And I was like, okay, that's not you talking.
Interesting.
They've got in your head.
Yeah.
She didn't want to be there. Trust me. She was done, checked out, wanted to go home.
Wow.
But they could see the storyline.
That kind of leads us well into Confessions Week 2, which has happened after the dinner party, obviously. But let's have a break and then dive straight into that because I want to hear your viewpoints on some of the stuff that happened.
Oh, my mind was blown.
So the couples moved in together after the first dinner party. Then we kickstarted Confessions Week. The task that they were given was the values ranking task, photo ranking, letter writing, and going through each other's phones.
Yep.
Do you remember which ones you did last season?
I did the photo ranking and obviously the confession letter. We didn't do any of the other things because we didn't want to spend any time with each other because every single time that we did, I would end up storming out of the room. So with what was it called? The photo ranking challenge?
Yep.
I hated doing that. I didn't like it at all. And Harrison was always like, I like the blonde Bondi babe with an athletic figure. There was 5 blondes and he puts me first. So I was like, that's a lie. So I just don't think that it's a genuine, I just don't think it's a very respectful, I guess, task. Why would you pin people's wives against each other and get I don't like that. Who was it that actually denied doing it?
Timothy.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. I love that.
I was about time.
Yes.
Someone said no.
It's not cool. And then even when Shannon was doing it last year and with Caitlin, I was like, you want your partner to think that you're number one. And at the end of the day, it's not very logical to think that because you've just met all these people. Of course, you're going to find there might be your dream person in there, but you can't put them as number. I did. So I actually put Duncan first and then I put Harrison and then the rest of them were on there. But I was like, I'm just being honest. I was like, Duncan at the time was, out of all the other guys was the guy that I found the most attractive. That was the task.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's, I mean, to put me first, I was like, lol, okay, but thank you.
It's very interesting though, having like the values listing, for example, which is like beneficial for a couple versus the photo ranking, which can cause nothing but drama.
Completely, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
That's what they want. And I was like, I wanted to do that, the values one. I guess I would have seen a lot more of what he wanted. And I'm sure a lot of other couples would feel the same. You know, it's the letter is probably, I guess, a little, you see a little bit more inside, I guess, who they are. And that, I guess that's kind of like a value situation as well. Yep. But because of some of the confessions that have come out, I'm like, Jaden, I just, whew.
Let's play Jaden's confession and then you can unpack all of your thoughts.
Let's do it, please.
My ex-girlfriend cheated on me. She was going on dinner dates, movie dates, and I even had guys openly admit to me in person that they had slept with her. I told her that I was willing to give her another chance, but I'm gonna sleep with her best friend while she watches.
Sorry? Bro. What?
He says it like it's so logical too.
Yes. And then there was, do you regret it? No.
There's a lot of layers to that because not only did you do that, but you've now admitted it to a partner on national TV with all of these people sharing their thoughts. Like, what did you think when he said it?
There could have been so many more things that you could have said. Coming from somebody that's obviously experienced all of this, when you go through your, I guess, audition process, they kind of make you feel like you can trust them. Especially when you're speaking to the experts. They are very good at making you feel like you have a relationship with them and there's a safety net and, you know, they've got your best interest at heart, right? So he would have said that in his audition. And then obviously Eden, coming from a background of being cheated on with her long-term best friend, what a perfect duo.
Yeah.
Of course, they knew that they were going to get that reaction out of her. I get that everybody has a past. That's okay. But there could have been so many more things that you could have said on national television than that. That's out there forever.
Big confession.
Forever. So I probably would have reacted the same way as Eden being cheated on, I guess, and losing your long-term best friend or not. I still would have reacted that way because that's... Like, if you're going to do that to her, then are you going to do that? Are you going to do that to me?
Yeah, is that your revenge tactic?
True.
Yeah.
Every time something bad happens?
100%.
Not that exactly, but like a twisted kind of way of
It's just
sorting
very,
it out.
like, it's vindictive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't believe that he's a vindictive person. I don't get those vibes. I feel like he is a big, you know, I think he said he was a big cuddly teddy bear, and I get those vibes. And as I said, everybody has a past, but that, of course, makes great TV.
Yeah.
You know, and all of our reactions prove that.
Knowing what you know about the editing process, do you think there's context missing from his letter? Like, in the sense of, you know, the way it's framed, and this is what I was kind of thinking while I was watching it, still so bizarre to me, but like, did he and his ex have an agreement that they always wanted to do a threesome, for example? Like, did they have something, did they have certain kinks or whatever that is just not explained in the whole process to make him look worse?
Totally. You see the letter, there was a whole page and a half.
Yeah.
And you heard like 2 sentences. So it's like, of course, they're going to take the one bit out of that's going to get people's reactions. There was so much more to that. He would have written his reasons, his emotions, everything. And then I'm sure that there was even more to what he said with the no, when he just flat out said no.
Yeah.
But it makes a good reaction. It makes a good storyline. So, and it teed up so well. Like they would have been like, wow, we've got TV gold with this.
I think my favorite comment that I read on some of the reactions from audiences was someone was like, I would never even write this in my own diary.
Yeah.
You keep that confession locked in the back of your
To
brain.
yourself, deny. Like, you do not, if someone brings that up to you, no, I don't know that person. Absolutely not. I've just never in my mind ever thought of revenge to that degree.
No.
Like, for me, you losing me is enough of an L for you for me to feel good about myself for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
So before we let you go, we've got a game called Kiss, Marry, Leave. And we want to see who you would kiss, marry, and leave from this year's cast.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be just a guy. It can be any of the girls as well. But who would you kiss?
My God, like who are the people? Probably kiss Jonathan, which is pretty sure is Lauren's partner. I'd marry Cassandra. I love her. I think she's like the most sweetest person on the planet. Like, she just gives the best energy. I'm like, she's just amazing. And leave, obviously, Collins in the bin. Sorry, Collins, but not for me. Absolutely not.
Well, to wrap things up fully, not to bring up too much old trauma, but we do have an honesty box question for
Stop
you.
it. Oh my God. I'm dead. What would you say is the best and worst thing about being on OnlyFans? Dude, the money is freaking great. Obviously, like cash money. It is the freedom that I've always wanted is just, and it's not what everyone thinks it is. Like, I get questions and people wanting to see photos of my belly button.
Okay.
My feet. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to sell yourself completely to make money. And I was posting bikini photos and lingerie photos before I was even on MAFS for years. Since I was 21, I used to do all those sort of photo shoots forever. So it's nothing different. I'm just getting paid for it now. Yeah. And it's absolutely amazing. And I think the worst part is just not that I really care, but it's people's perception of you. It's like they think that your values and who you are just completely go out the window. My parents were the ones that told me to do it. They were like, why don't you just do it? They're like, with the, I guess, housing crisis and everything that's going on at the moment, the way to get ahead is to be doing something like this. And they're like, so many reality stars do it. So many celebrities do it. And they make really good money and set themselves up. So people's perception and their judgment isn't going to pay my bills. Yeah. So it's, if you can wrap your brain around that, OnlyFans, it's the stigma is always probably going to be around. And that's something that you kind of just need to accept. But you don't need to sell yourself short to make money.
Yeah. What kind of ballpark figure are we talking about with earnings?
My first month, my account did $250,000.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was insanity. I wasn't hardly even posting on there. Yeah. It was just because it just went wild. Yeah. It was insane.
Do you have a time limit on how long you would stay on there for? Like, do you ever think, oh, like maybe in a year's time this will get old or whatever?
100%. It's never been something that I wanted to do full time. It's just, obviously it's funded my new business. So now that I've got my swimwear label with my best friend Lauren, that's something that's been a dream of mine for pretty much most of my 20s, but you need money to invest into it. Yeah. Didn't want to look into investors. My parents don't have, 20, 30 grand just laying around, and I would never ask them for that anyway. Yeah. So it's something that I wanted to do on my own. And my mum was like, Bronte, you're not going to have this body and you're not going to look like this forever. So she goes, if I was your age and I needed to make some money in a year, she goes, just do it. I'd do it.
You're so right about the stigma too, because a lot of creators, they do just do it for a certain amount of time and then they invest or they buy their properties or they do whatever.
Exactly.
It's like, so anyone that hates on it, it's like, oh, you hate women getting ahead. I see you.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And that's okay. Like, that's your beliefs and that's your values. And I'm never going to push that onto anybody. And I was somebody that when I first heard of it, I was like, ew, why would you do that? Why would you sell yourself short? Being on it, it's not about that at all. And it really makes you feel like you can achieve anything. If you can accept and get through the backlash of being on OnlyFans, you can get through anything. I did it with MAFS and OnlyFans, so I'm like, don't try me. 100%.
And here you are, you can charge for feet pics.
It's great. Exactly. It is a dream. I had $700 for my belly button. I'm like, that's rent paid.
That's crazy. What advice would you give the new cast if any of them are considering joining OnlyFans now?
Don't, if you want to do it, just, I guess, detach from the idea of anybody's judgment. It's going to happen. You're like, we're all going to end up in a box one day. We're all going to die. So, like, why would you live your life? You've just gone through the biggest experiment in the world. you know, and being judged by everybody, what's a little bit more judgment? Like if you've got a goal, if you've got a reason why, just remember that why and just put your horse blinkers on and just charge forward. Like it's definitely worth it, but definitely have a timeline involved because it's not something that you want to do forever. It's actually like content creation, even Instagram, everything, it's bloody exhausting. But if you've got a why, then just remember that why because it's definitely worth it. 100%.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Bronte.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm so glad that Bronte mentioned Caitlin's photo ranking challenge. I feel like that was definitely the worst photo ranking challenge we have ever seen.
Yeah.
So her partner Shannon ranked her second in the lineup and then moved her to third and made a point of saying that he hadn't seen any of the other brides without makeup, but he had seen Caitlin without makeup, seemingly making a point that because he had seen her makeup free, she was ranked lower than the other girls. It was all very weird.
It's so yuck. It still makes me mad to think about it. 'Cause she looks great without makeup.
Exactly.
I look like a little like troll doll when I wake up in the morning.
I'm sure you look beautiful, Tahlia.
Thanks for saying that. I'll pay you later.
But I did think she was the perfect person to ask about the necessity of the actual photo ranking challenge. She did admit that she believes it was 100% the reason why they ended things and why their relationship didn't work. But she did say that there was a surprising positive that came from the photo ranking challenge. Here's what she had to say.
The benefit that I did get from the photo ranking challenge was that it did give me the opportunity to see how my partner spoke about other people and to see how he kind of held himself and behaved coming into a challenge like that. It gave me the opportunity to see whether he spoke positively about others and nicely about others, or whether he would pick people apart and put them down. And it gave me the opportunity to see how he would be towards me and the comments he would make towards me and whether they were honest but respectful and caring or whether they were rude and derogatory. So the benefit of that was I got to know on a deeper level what my partner was like and how he handled himself.
That is such a good point because I guess sometimes as viewers we forget that we're seeing all the voxies and all the stuff that people are saying just to the producers and whatever. And so we're forgetting that the people in these relationships aren't always seeing maybe the more negative traits that their partner has. So her watching Shannon do that ranking, I mean, obviously the silver lining too of that happening for them is the fact she was like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Like he's not speaking about people in a positive way. It's a dumb task. It just is. I also wonder how you can do it with kindness while being honest. And not saying that you be a dickhead to someone, but you look at someone like Collins who is clearly trying to do the right thing, I would say in that moment. Yeah. Or if he's not trying to do the right thing by Natalie, he's trying to do the right thing for cameras and for the audience perception of him, because I don't think anyone really bought that he was being authentic in that moment. But I'm like curious at how you can be authentic if he doesn't find her the most attractive without it coming across harsh.
Yeah, I think Caitlin made the best point that respect is the key thing when it comes into any element of MAFS or any relationship. As long as you have respect for your partner, that is pretty much the main component of a relationship, of a healthy relationship.
What would you do if your partner came home with a bunch of photos and was like, rank me? And it's just like a bunch of, maybe it's the MAFS people. He's like, here's my photo. Here's Collins, Richard.
I think putting myself in the contestants' shoes, there is no way that I'm going to put my partner behind any of these people that I don't know, which I think comes into it with the show. You've spent your honeymoon, you've spent your wedding with your partner, as if you're going to put them behind a complete stranger that they hadn't met. They met at one dinner party, as if you're going to put them above your actual partner.
That is such a good point. And not that I thought I would say this today, but in defense of Collins.
Here we go.
He didn't know anyone else's names. Did you, when he was doing the whole thing, he's like,
True.
Who's this one again? Who's this one again?
So you think he was being genuine, I guess, to put Natalie first?
I wouldn't go that far, but I think he doesn't know the other people whatsoever.
Well, what a day.
Thank you, Collins.
I am so excited to see what happens next week. We have our very first commitment ceremony.
Any predictions of who's going to leave? Do you think anyone will leave week 1 or week 1 commitment ceremony.
I think Natalie and Collins will definitely be leaving in the first week, or at least one of them will write leave. So we'll have to see what happens there.
One will be kept hostage.
I'm very excited to see how that unfolds, but thank you so much for tuning in to Yahoo Australia's Behind the Edit.
We'll be back next week, but if you're in desperate need of more MAFS tea in the meantime, please go to Yahoo Lifestyle and check it all out.
If you like this episode, make sure you give us a 5-star review and follow us on all of our socials. All the links will be in the show notes, and we'll see you next week.
Behind the Edit is brought to you by Yahoo Australia, hosted by Lachlan, Guertin and Tahlia Pritchard, produced by Katie Brown, social production by Alexa Tubertini. Yahoo Australia would like to acknowledge the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation, the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast was recorded, and pay our respects to elders past and present.